Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please allow me this moment to just introduce you to this amazing person that's coming up next. She is an African black woman, a wife, and a mother from Gasekekune. She is a co-director of a wellness and after-hours medical center in Embalenhle, practicing part-time as a medical doctor, and running a women and child clinic with a track record of 100% HIV negative children who were born from HIV positive mothers. She completed her MBA in 2013 from the Regenesis Business School, and she's also the CEO of the Heaven and Earth Group. She's a passionate thought leader, a teacher, and a speaker on holistic health through personal leadership in our African context. She's the founder of JL Youth Foundation, mentoring and coaching to high school students and teachers with future prospects of funding for well-performing students' academia. She's the author of her newly released book, Heaven on Earth Through My Grandfather's Life, an entrepreneur, mentor, and a legend. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Dr. Boitumelo Petla.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to be here. I think the speakers, not that I think, actually the speakers that spoke, they spoke such a mouthful. Thank you for those words and for being part of the vision and contributing so meaningfully to what we're trying to do here. And thank you to each and every one of you who is here today to join us and be here, be inspired, to learn, and so you can also go out there and change other people's lives. And then thanks to our parents who are here. that is the whole thing. It's such a good example that despite the limitations, the love, the commitment that was put in, that produced such great men who are also impacting on the lives of others. So just to continue, Contribution Health is about embracing the truth that life will contribute to you what you contribute into it. Contrary to what most of us think, all of us love this beautiful lifestyle. We want to experience it. But what are you giving? What are you giving? You know what you want. But what do others want that you can give? Like what Tabang said, life, you must give life what you want out of it, something like that. That is so deep. So according to in the dictionary, they define contribution health. I'm just trying to fix this all the time. It's part of contribution health, supporting designers. So they define contribution as a part being played by someone or something in bringing about a result or helping something to advance. Advance means to grow something or something to progress to another level or to be better than how you found it. Now with that, the question is, have you thought of what is it that you would like to be part of advancing? Have you thought about it? Which most of us don't. All we know is we want to be advanced. That one we know for sure. But have we thought of what is it that we can advance so that life can also advance us in return? Because life is a give and take. And that is something we should remember all the time. So I should say, as most of you would know, that I've written this book dedicated to my grandfather, inspired by my grandfather, J.L. Mogale. And I feel so fortunate and humbled to be able to stand on shoulders of such a great human. It's such a pleasure, it's such an honor, because it doesn't happen all the time. Not all of us have the privilege. I wouldn't have chosen this for myself, but I was fortunate to experience it. That is the whole thing today that we're trying to embrace, that we can be the next shoulders for others, basically. A man who was a legendary entrepreneur, a family man, a philanthropist, a trendsetter, and a role model, and above all, a transformational leader. Transformational leader in the sense that, when you transform economy, anyone's economy, meaning their financial status, you transform their lives. Whether you transform it through direct money or through skills, through education, through confidence, through introspection, whatever. If you can transform somebody's status of economy, their lives will be better. Because the lack of a better economic status kind of can even render you to be an animal, because you just have to submit to everything just to stay alive. And that is not the nature or the form that God has intended for any of us. So if we can contribute to being transformed through transforming others, that is the ultimate legacy. So his life, for me, represented a real legacy, what real legacy should be, in the sense that a real legacy should be something that should be experienced, not just described. You should experience it. And then his passing represented a real legacy in the sense that even when you are gone, there should be evidence of what you did with your life. And the evidence can only be on the lives of others, not on the things that you have. The evidence has to be in the life or through lives of others, because that's how you carry a legacy going forward. So I also went to the dictionary again to define what is legacy. They define it, there's quite a few definitions, but I chose this one. It says legacy is something achieved that continues to exist after you stop working or dying. So it means we don't have to wait until you die for us to know what is your legacy. Right where you are now, you are building a legacy now. Meaning if you live where you are in the next year, people should still be talking about your presence in your absence. So death is not the decider per se in terms of if you've left a legacy or not. So now we can kind of compare good and bad legacies. Good, obviously, money is good for everyone because it makes lives better. And most of us, when we think of legacies, most of the time we think of money. But it's not about money. Les Brown says, it's not what you leave for your children, it's what you leave in them. Not what you leave for them, what you leave in them. Because they can keep on reproducing over and over and over. But if you leave money in a child who is not well developed, they'll splash the money will disappear. So that's not the ultimate legacy. So a legacy is that seed that you plant that will keep on germing and generating life over and over and over again. So now this legacy can also exist on different life stages. Your past, meaning on somebody who lived before you. Your present life, what you are doing right now while you are alive, and beyond your life. So we should be able to acknowledge all of those stages without only looking beyond death. The people that lived before you, what did they take? Because it's not all about money. It's those lessons, it's those values, those things that are within you that you can also share with others, even in their absence or in your own absence. And your present life, what are you doing now? Every single day, what are you doing? You don't have to wait for those big opportunities. The little thing that you think you are busy on now, it depends what you're doing with it. That is what will determine what will come out of it. Beyond your life, that is automatic. When you're gone, you are gone. But it's amazing that even when you're gone, people will still talk about you. They will fill the gap that you're no longer there. But if you are gone and people are relieved, because there are some people, well, you know, even when when they're reading the obituaries, you can just say, okay, this is not true. This guy never did this. It wasn't like this. But it's like you have to say something nice when somebody died, because we're so used to it. They just have to accept. Everybody must cry. Even though the person was problematic, everybody like, yo, Shem, Mara, yo. But the people who are real, within their hearts are like, yo, thank God this guy is dead. But you can't say that to people because people are going to suspect you for killing or contributing to the person's death. I remember there was a lady, the husband, they didn't have a good relationship, and the guy was, everywhere. I don't want to say that she was a good person or not, because the relationship is always between two people and you never get the whole story because you're not there. But the guy was everywhere, it was driving her crazy. Then one day, when the guy eventually died, to be honest, she didn't pretend. She was just like, I'm relieved. I am relieved. This person is no longer, you don't want to be in that situation. Obviously, when you're dead, you wouldn't know. But I mean, you have a conscience now. Why make people suffer in your presence? Why not allow people to be inspired in your presence to want to be better? In your presence. Why don't you be that person who inspires somebody to say, you know what, I want to change this also. I want to be brave and go out there like them. While you're still alive. Death is the ultimate decider, but it's even better if you can be conscious like that on a day-to-day basis. And then there's different levels of this legacy. There can be legacy on an individual level, family, society, community, country, continent, universal. It all depends on the extent of what you can do, obviously. But it doesn't matter how big or how small. It's about the impact. It's about the impact. So somebody like my grandfather is not famous. I mean, none of you here in Johannesburg would probably know about him. But for some of us, he's such a real thing. He's a real thing, and all the people that knew him, he's such a real thing, and their lives have never been the same since he was alive. They count him. When they count great people in their lives, they count him. He mattered to them. So it's not about the fame, it's the impact. So now the irony of life is that we all love the fruits, but we don't love the work. So what is my legacy? I'll speak on my legacy. So my legacy is from my grandfather, specifically, is this book. I have a story to share, and I've basically compressed it into a book. A man who was just an ordinary man, a black man in South Africa, but who is a self-made multimillionaire during apartheid. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. And this just shows that it doesn't matter. I'm fortunate to have had this platform, but he wasn't fortunate, but he committed his life to make sure that somebody like me can be fortunate. He had all the odds against him, but he committed, he made sure things would be different for the ones that will follow after him. And because of all his efforts, none of his children had to go into migration labor, which was like by force. I mean, if you stay home, what are you going to take your family, kind of take care of your family with if you're not working? So you're almost forced to go away and find a job because of the context of how things were happening. But he said, I'm going to work hard. He said it all the time. He worked hard to make sure that the family can be together, because that is what separated families. And now today there's so many problems in our society, and we don't understand why. A lot of prisoners, if you go to jail and you ask any prisoner, you take their history, most of them will tell there was an absent father. Or the mother was there, but they couldn't really be present in their lives because of the financial circumstances. So, just breaking a family unit is a big thing. It's a big thing. But then we're saying today, we have the opportunity today. Apartheid is over. So we shouldn't make excuses. Yes, we're being pushed now. We're trying to work hard. We want to succeed. We want to retire. But don't compromise on the things that really matter. Things that money cannot replace. And what is that? Relationships. Relationships. Don't undermine a relationship, because all of us eventually we're trying to build relationships in life. Any success is because of healthy relationships. Any success, whether family or business or any development, is because of the relationships that you are building. So now he's a role model for me that, I can hold on to all the time. He affirms me, approves me, challenges me, supports me, and inspires me, even in his absence, especially in his absence. Because when he was present, I never noticed he was different. It was normal for me to have somebody like him. That's how I've known him all my life. But when he left, then that's when I realized that this person was not an ordinary person. So that's when it matters most. So now from him, I'm also learning and embracing all the time the tried and tested life lessons and principles. I'm going to just read them quickly. There's 7 things that I've summarized that I felt like those are the lessons that I've learned from him. And then they've also formed part of what I call this holistic health model that I'm doing, which is inspired by his life, plus my education as a medical doctor, my own life. So in his own perspective or his life experience, according to me, there were 7 things that made him to succeed. And this is a man who lived like a few years before we are here, so nothing has changed in life. In Ecclesiastes, nothing is new. Nothing is new. Everything has already happened. It's just happening over and over again. And then he says, you're such a fool to even say, oh, things have changed these days, per se. That is based on the principles that they're talking about, not the specific examples, but principles. Principles never change. They stay the same. So according to my perspective, what could have made him succeed and to experience what I perceived as heaven on earth is the vision. Not only a vision, a steadfast vision. Steadfast means you are forging on that vision no matter what. No matter what, you are sticking to the vision. Secondly, a character, and not only character, undisputed character. undisputed character. Because, I mean, I can stand here and act like I'm responsible and all of that, but then after 5 weeks, you heard that they caught me in a hotel with this other guy, I don't know. And then it's like, okay, now my character is under dispute. It's going to be under dispute. Then whatever that I speak is questionable now. And the funny thing about disputed characters, there's always something that's going to expose you. There will always be something, because you cannot stand in the name of God doing what you're doing and then expect God to cover you. So your character covers you, because that is the nature of God. So an undisputed character. Thirdly, respect and honor for family. Fourthly, a centered soul and mind. So even then, somebody like him then had that he understood that was important. Spend time by yourself with your God. Spend time by yourself with your God. It's very important, because as they've already spoken that, with media, there's a lot of information that we are getting, a lot of information about how life should be. This is what you should change. Eventually, you don't know what to do. You are frustrated now. You're like, now I don't know what to do. My friend told me that. My colleague told me that. Now everybody's giving you so much, but eventually there's only one truth. That truth is in the Bible. And on top of only that being in the Bible, you have to interpret that for yourself with your God. Because somebody will interpret it the way they want you to understand it. But when you can spend time by yourself, God will reveal to you what he wants you to understand with a specific word. And it also just gives you time to think. When you're in quietness, you get a lot of ideas that nobody else can give you, because you are born with ideas already. But you need to make the time and the space to hear them, to see them, and then take them seriously, because they are there for a reason. Fifthly, be a person who embraces excellence in service. Excellence is very important. Excellence is not something that you display to people. Excellence is something that you do whether somebody is watching you or not watching you. It's because that is just your nature. A heart and mind to enhance others around you. This is where we are today, contribution health. You're not living just for yourself. When God lifts you up, he's lifting you up for others also. It's not just for you to shine and look good and whatever. There's something that you need to be giving back from what he's giving you. You have to be sharing that with other people and making other people's lives better. Lastly, individual who embraces health and vitality. So even that method then, even in the Bible, it's always been there. It's always been there, the issue of how we take care of our bodies, mind, body and soul, so to say, because you live in a body. The body needs to be in a good state. As much as we're being told, because there's so much information, but you have to keep things simple. You still need to be healthy. You need to live in a healthy body, because that is what is carrying you. The minute that body collapses, you are out. You might feel like wanting to continue, but if the body has collapsed, the chance is over. And you've got the power to preserve your body as long as you should and as long as you can. Okay, so what constant state of striving to experience heaven on earth through holistic health model is a state where I'm personally at, based on what I saw from what my grandfather did, how he's enabled my own parents to be able to be there, to be present parents, because my grandfather paid, I've shared this one probably here also, he made sure he paid for my father's first degree, because he didn't want my father to be in migration labor, because his daughter was going to be without a husband while he's working. So what did he do? He saw my father had the hunger, he was intelligent, he was willing to study. He said, okay, go and study. He studied, he came back, he was a teacher, a full-time father, which makes all the difference, which is what we undermine all the time. You have to be there for your children. Never undermine your busyness and that, I'm so busy, I can't. There's nothing that you need to be investing your time, especially if you have children. Those children, what you are doing today or not doing today is going to determine how they're going to cope with life in the future, or how they'll interact with people or experience life in the future. So that is the ultimate thing. So now the whole heaven on earth thing is a matter of perception, how you experience things, how you see life. Holistic health model makes it possible, because automatically if you are healthy physically, mentally, spiritually, that is heaven on earth, because being sick is hell. Being poor is hell. Being confused is hell. Being abused is hell. Being ignorant is hell. So heaven on earth is the opposite of that, and you can only do that if you can embrace all of you. And what I'm saying here, this holistic health model, like what you're actually saying, holistic health approach, that is the approach that God wants for us, all of us. He's intended for us to thrive in all those areas of our lives, because that is the only way that we can ever be what we were created to be. So now, coming to serving with excellence. Serving with excellence is the nature of God, because it's the act of submission. Serving with excellence is the nature of God, because it's the act of submission. What does this mean? A simple thing means when you are working at work and you've got the power. Let me give a simple example. Let's say, let me use me as a doctor. I've got when a patient comes to me, I decide, because I'm the doctor, how I'm gonna treat the patient, what I'm gonna tell them or not tell them, because I've got the power in that position. But now, if I understand God, I will know that as I'm examining the patient, talking to the patient, I'm talking to God himself. So you treat that person with respect and love. Not because you think they can afford, or they might change your life, or if I treat them well, tender, so maybe tender. So you mustn't be good or nice to people because you think you can get something out of them. You respect each and everyone that you're serving. So you mustn't just be rude. All of us in different departments, there's a lot of us that are rude to people. Just because you've got the platform, but you are forgetting the rudeness that you're expressing to another person, you are expressing it to God. And now how do you expect life to lift you up if you cannot respect its creation? It's not going to happen. So now that's why, sometimes somebody might say, no, because you're in private practice. And I'll say, I was in public service before I was in private. In public service, I was that doctor who will come on time. I will knock off when I'm supposed to knock off. Whether I'm not doing this because there's a roll call, they might catch me. I understand I must respect the role that I need to play. Until my time comes where I want to do what I want to do, but I have to be loyal first with a little. People want big opportunities, that they think, okay, once I get big opportunities, I'm going to change, I'm going to make things better. No, you're not even going to get it. You can continue dreaming. It's not coming. Because automatically, when you are ready, the universe is going to open your door. It's not going to create it. It's already there. It will open. But as long as you undermine the person who's standing before you that you are supposed to serve, you're not ready. You will remain that person who is just bitter, who's complaining, always comparing yourself to other people, who's never satisfied, because you haven't found your place. You're not in your place. Your place is to be a servant. For government employees, they say you are public servants. But even for private people, you're a private servant. And if you can embrace being a servant, that's when the world will lift you up. You don't even need a person. The world itself will lift you up because you are abiding by a principle. So now, like what I just mentioned, it does not matter who or where you're serving. It's about the quality of your service. So now when coming to finding your purpose, I'm just rushing before you guys, your sugar drops. Because okay, when it comes to finding your purpose, my experience and what I understand from the Bible is that purpose is found in excellent service. Because sometimes you don't know, but how am I going to know what is my purpose or what am I born to do? You find it when you are servicing others well. Then you're going to find your purpose. Sometimes, let's say you're working, I don't know, okay, you're a doctor, you're servicing people, you're doing well, but it does not necessarily mean that that is your purpose per se, but you respect the skill that you are giving. You might find that you're actually an artist, but you're just a good doctor. So purpose has to do more with something that is already within you. It's not going to be created. You are born with it. But you have to make time to find it. But whether it's a skill or the purpose, you have to respect both. But most of the time, if you're confused and you're like, but how will I know? You don't have to worry about knowing what is your purpose. Just serve well where you are right now. Respect your space where you are at right now. Life has a way of opening your eyes then, if it's noticed that you deserve to know. Because it's already there, it's not going to be created. Now, it has to, though the natural gift or the talent has to be harnessed by principles of success, which has to do a lot with discipline and service, respect, the basic virtues that you all know. Because as long as you might have a natural gift or a talent, but you're also not respecting it, or you're not respecting yourself, you're not harnessing it, or you're not improving on it or learning, from others, just to get better at it, it also won't work. Because even if you are gifted, but your standards are low, you don't inspire anybody. Nobody wants to support your vision or whatever that you want to offer them, because you just look like somebody who's just taking a chance. But somebody who inspires somebody is because they're serving well. If you look like what Thabang also mentioned, that also that, what is it that you will do even if they're not going to pay you for that? Because most of us are motivated when we get paid. If they're not paying you, like, no, I'm not doing it. How much are you paying me first? Then I'll do it. But the funny thing is, you pay them, they still don't do a good job because their heart is not in it. So it's not about the money. It's about respecting what you do. Because once you respect what you do, that door is going to open. Somebody's going to notice. You're not depending on anyone. The universe will make sure somebody turns their heads and they see you. So nobody's going to decide for you whether, I'm ready to promote you or not. You'll meet a lot of opportunities where you deserve it, you qualify for it, but somebody says no. But it's not up to them. They're just supposed to say no. The one that is yours, you will see it will open for you and it will not compromise your values and your principles. Now, that one is from God. So now a lot of us are trapped in, we want opportunity. Somebody's like, no, I can give you the opportunity, but before I give it to you, this is what you must do for me. Already when you accept that defeat, God is not in that anymore. You're on your own. And yes, you can say, but I didn't have a choice. I was desperate. Unfortunately, is that story again of marshmallows. Here marshmallows, all they're asking is just delay eating the marshmallows. Not that you're not going to eat it, just delay eating the marshmallows. Even your success or your growth. Nobody's saying you're not going to have success, but delay. Go through the process. Don't rush this thing. It will come, but it takes time. And it usually comes when you are ready. When are you ready? The world will show you that you are ready. You don't have to wait for someone to say, now you are ready. No, nobody can know when you're ready. But God knows when you are ready. When you are ready, He opens that door. And nobody can shut that door. So we must never allow anybody to put us in that position where you end up being like, just something, just because you are desperate and you are pressed. And people know when you are desperate and pressed. But you must be able to say, you know what, for me to live a real legacy now and beyond me, I have to have some principles. Not that you are perfect, but uphold to something so that even when you need help, you can say, God, help me. But when you know what you've done, you can't even go back to God because you feel so guilty. So that guilt alone will keep you away from your purpose. But when you delay, you will eventually get there, but then it makes things easier for you. You've got the authority to stand. Because the reason leaders today do not have authority to stand on certain things is because once you're exposed, your power is taken away. Once we know what you did, we don't see you the same anymore. It just changes the way we see you. Like, even if you used to be whatever, when we see you, just get turned off. And you're supposed to be this most important person. But once we know what you've done behind the cupboard, because we're human, we judge. We'll never see you the same. Never, ever again. But when you can uphold that, it's the most difficult thing, but upholding that, it's going to give you that favor, that advantage, that power to continue pursuing what you're supposed to pursue. So now, the impact of purpose is supposed to inspire, to challenge, and to transform. That's how you know you're living a purposeful life. We all have the opportunity today to create a better future for ourselves and generations to come. But we need to be aware and work on it. There's a story of, I believe it's Moses, where God says, Moses was going to Pharaoh, and he said, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. You are going there, but I'm going to harden his heart. But I want you to go still. And then at some point, Moses had to ask him, what should I use? I don't remember the whole story exactly. But God said, use what you have in your hand. Use exactly what you have in your hand. So most of us think, you know what, I need to know somebody famous. I need to know somebody rich so that I can progress. No, you don't need anyone per se. But you need to be working with people, of course. But your destiny does not depend on anyone. What you need is already in your hand. You have it already. But you might have been through situations in your life where you are so pressed, things are difficult for you, that you gave up because it didn't look practical to you. But God says, use what you have in your hand. I put it there for a reason. And I know how it will work for you. And He gives each and every one of us something unique to hold in our hands. But now the world will challenge you. It said, no, you can't progress. If you also find something, I'll just progress level. And people expect different things from you, but God says, what I've given you in your hand is enough. You don't have to go somewhere and try to beg people, break into pieces, trying to get somewhere. You have it in your hand. You came with it. But now you need to make that time to listen and to hear God and to trust what God says about you. That kingship, that queenship that she was talking about, that is our nature, all of us. But we have our authority when we stand at the right place and are grounded in the right principles, because nobody can shake you. You see, if somebody shakes you and you are shakeable, one day when you're successful or things are going well, they just open that page 25. Do you remember page 25? Do you remember that day? So if you don't want me to tell anybody about what happened on page 25, this is what you have to do. You are back to slavery in a different form. So nobody must hold you, pin you down because of something that you compromised on. As much as God says, no, as long as you've asked for forgiveness, it's forgiven. It's true. And all of us need the grace, because somehow we all make mistakes, but we cannot keep on making mistakes. Now, when you correct yourself, it gives you that authority to say, you know what, I know what I've done, I know what I've been through. But there's a reason God says I'm a God of second chances. There's a reason God says, once I've forgiven you, it's over. There's a reason for that. But then also going forward, what are you going to do now from today going forward? That is also very important. So now when you serve well and live a purposeful life, you will then eventually live as in today, and leave behind a legacy. The question is, what legacy will you be remembered for? As we speak, they asked that, and we didn't discuss this actually, but everybody keeps on asking the same question. How will you be remembered? What would you like to be remembered for? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.